Ryan Reed starting on the front row. That is one of the 5 Venturini Motorsports entries in this race. So they have stacked the field hoping to get to victory lane today to start off the 2012 season. Pace car has made its way onto pit road. The field now in the hands of Sean Corr as they make their way through the tri-oval. Fans on their feet. Green flag in the air. We're underway.
Pretty clean start so far, dead even going in turn number 1.
ARCA Racing Series also has a restricted motor, which means that it'll take them a while to get up to speed.
About 400, maybe 410 horsepower in these ARCA engines.
They stay side by side as they go down the backstretch, trying to determine who will lead the first lap at Daytona. 2 by 2, 5 rows back already.
See Steve Blackburn, the 94 car, jumping right in behind Sean Corr, propelled him out in front of Ryan Reed.
The inside line begins to move as we see them stay nose to tail. A few stragglers up on the high line, but it's going to be Sean Corr who's going to lead lap number 1 at Daytona.
We saw this race dominated last year by Bobby Gerhart, running the bottom of the racetrack right against that yellow line all the way around. And here comes Bobby, and I wonder if this is strategy. I wonder if he's going to top off the fuel. He's pitted on lap number 5 last year. If he tops off the fuel and said, I'm going to go the rest of the way.
He was at the back of the field because of them having their time disallowed in qualifying, so now they come onto pit road. Ray, what are they talking about?
Rick, starting that far back, they figured might as well come in and do a quick fuel top off. That could really change your fuel window. The rule today is you must pit 1 time prior to lap 70.
And that could be their 1 time. We've seen Bill Gerhart, crew chief, do some crazy things to win this race. That might have just done it.
Yeah. He's going to have to rely on some caution laps, though, because we typically get enough caution laps. Again, he ran 75 laps here last year, pitted on lap number 5. He brought in a little bit earlier this time, but he knows how much fuel he had left, too, at the end of that race last year.
Look at how far Ryan Reed has drifted back, now running in about the 7th or 8th position on that outside line. That inside line has made the move. No one has moved out of position. And speaking of Bobby Gerhart winning it last year, one of the drivers who didn't move out of position the entire race once he got behind Bobby Gerhart was young Chris Buescher. He decided, I'm staying behind this guy. I know how good he is.
Yeah, he did a great job. Got a lot of experience. Now he's here to win. But it looked like I saw a little bit of steam coming from the right front base of the windshield for that 82 car of Sean Corr. He hasn't had anybody in front of him.
Right.
So right now he's got too much tape on that grill if that car's overheating.
Finishing up the 3rd lap of this 80-lap race. On to lap 4, and it's still been Sean Corr, your pole winner, out in front with Blackburn, Wyndham, Charleston, and Hockenbraut, the top 5.
They're going to catch Bobby Gerhart. There's Bobby right there in his Lucas Chevy. He will be caught by this pack here momentarily.
And the gamble that Bill Gerhart, the crew chief, made is probably a good one because we do have the Aaron's Lucky Dog. He will be able to get his lap back if he is the highest scored non-lead lap car if a caution comes out.
The thing I don't understand is the advantage to pitting on lap number 1 like Bill did right there. He could have ridden 5 or 6 or 7 laps and done the same exact thing, came out in exactly the same place.
And now Bobby Gerhart trying to stay in front of Sean Corr, moving around, and Corr decides to go around to the outside, and that's going to bring the pack with him. We'll see where Bobby Gerhart slides in.
Yeah, Bobby was pretty much a sitting duck there. They had so much more momentum, that pack running together. Now he's even with them right now. He can work his way around and try to get back towards the front. I think he would ideally like to be up front if the caution were to come out and earn his way back, not have to rely on the lucky dog, because then if he gets the lucky dog, he has to start at the back of the pack on the subsequent restart.
Bobby Gerhart trying a little strategy, coming onto pit road right at the start of the race. After the green flag had dropped, he went all the way around and came onto pit road. They topped off with fuel. Now he's a lap down, but running about 6 cars back from the leader. And that's Sean Corr that's holding the top spot.
Here's Brandon McReynolds. He's the front car on the outside line. First car on the outside line. Driving for Turner Motorsports outside of Chris Buescher right now in the 17 car. Here's Ryan Reed right along with him, our outside front row sitter.
And you never hear any change in the engine. When we ride along with those cars, you just hear that constant hum. Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, I was a lot like Phil. I thought, why not stay out till lap 10 or 11 for the 5 car? So I went and asked crew chief Billy Gerhardt, what was your plan there? He said, I felt like we could pit and get out in front of the field and stay out there, and that would put us in position to be ahead of the entire field and not take a chance of being in the big one in case there is one. But obviously that didn't work out. He said, not to worry, there is a lucky dog. He's okay there, but he likes the single file position they're in front of the 2x2 pack racing.
Yeah, Ray, you're right. He's in a pretty good spot right there if he can keep that side-by-side battle of Chris Buescher and Brandon McReynolds behind him. But if that car gets, that outside line gets a little bit of momentum and puts up in the middle, I don't think that's where Bill wanted Bobby to be.
So Ryan Reed now dropped down to the double yellow line. This is an unfortunate situation. The 29 of Sloan Henderson is on the inside on the apron area of the racetrack as they're working out of turn number 4, and around goes one car as they're coming toward pit road. The 33 Milcaduno sliding down pit road, and that brings out our first caution.
I think that may have been precipitated by those cars seeing Sloan on the inside. There may have been some people that moved to the outside just to give her a little bit more room, even though she's a good 15 feet inside of the yellow line.
So Milcaduno around coming out of turn number 4, slides on the concrete apron and into the grass as she came off of pit road, and it looks as though waiting to decide if she needs to take the hard left turn to go back in the ARCA garage. Let's look again at what happened.
You see some cars moving around about mid-pack. There's going to be some contact. Looked like the 33 Milcaduno tried to move back to the inside, and I believe that was Will Kimmel that was already committed to the inside next to the yellow line, and they made a little bit of contact. She did a nice job keeping that 33 car out of the inside wall.
Take a look at the picture from our DirecTV blimp.
See her move over. I believe that is the 68 of Will Kimmel that she made contact with. She was running in the 18th position.
And so close, traveling at over 180 miles an hour to that inside wall. So Milcaduno with a couple flat tires, and they'll have to go to work on that race car to get her back out. But coming out of turn 4, a wild ride for the 33. Welcome back. Lucas Oil Slick Miss 200 from Daytona International Speedway. Yeah, that's Travis Pastrana watching the ARCA race. Right behind him, he's got good friend Matt Crafton. He'll be running in the Camping World Truck Series race on Friday. We see the field of cars making their way onto pit road.
Majority of the field coming down pit road, at least little.
Jim, what's going on with Tom Hester?
A little bit of a hesitation here. He decided to come in once a few cars ahead of him came down. He started back in the top 5, got back to 10th. He came down gas only for the 52, Jamie.
32, Chris Windham coming on to pit road. Also, a lot of teams taking this opportunity for fuel only right now. They're going to get in that fuel stop before the 70 lap mark. Cars getting fuel and going back out.
17 of Chris Buescher, a runner-up last year to Bobby Gerhardt, pitted with the same strategy last year as Bobby Gerhardt, pitted on lap number 5, went the rest of the way.
Was all over his bumper.
For 50 laps anyway.
Yep, all over that back bumper. So the first caution has come out in the first race of the ARCA Racing Series. The upcoming schedule, how about Mobile International Speedway? We talked with Rick Crawford earlier down there, the owner of Mobile. He is so excited about having the ARCA Racing Series come to his racetrack.
He really is. That's a great facility there in Mobile, and Rick's done super work with it. And really excited, and the whole town is really excited about the ARCA Racing Series coming to Mobile.
The next stop for speed with the ARCA Racing Series will be Talladega Super Speedway, Toledo, Pocono, Michigan. All stops that we will be able to watch along with you, the ARCA Racing Series. Welcome back to Daytona Beach, Florida. Gorgeous shots coming from our DirecTV blimp. The aerial coverage of today's race brought to you by DirecTV. Only DirecTV gives you dedicated driver channels, so you'll never miss a second of your driver's race. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Beautiful area taken over by NASCAR in February. The Speed Weeks takes place. as well as the ARCA Racing Series to kick off the 2012 season of stock car racing. Let's go back down pit road and Ray Dunlap.
Well, the big question, Rick, for me down on this end is, will anybody come back in for tires that hasn't pitted, or that did pit on lap number 9? I checked with Frank Kimmel's bunch. They said, nope, they're all done. Chad Hockenbrough said they got their fuel. They're ready to go to the end. But I did stop in Max Gresham's pit also, and they said they may consider getting right side tires somewhere around the middle part of this race. So some varying strategies down here, but quite a few of these guys are done for the day. Jim Trado?
Ray, a couple of guys actually had to come down out of necessity. One was John Wolf, the crew chief that powered Poucher Shelter to the ARCA Championship a couple years back. He's on the box for Matt Lofton for Coulter Motorsports. He came down for gas only and put tape on the nose. He said we were running a bit too cool. Opposite for Alex Gregory, the number 78 machine, the Mosquito Patch 4. The car was overheating. They had some water coming out of the overflow, so they took advantage under this caution to take gas and fix their issues. One was too cool, one too hot. We'll see how it plays out for them.
Thanks, guys.
Good looking shot of Alex's car right there, the 78.
They'll get everyone lined back up again. Scoring monitor saying that Sean Corr will bring the field back to the green flag as we're getting ready for the restart. They're continuing to get everyone back in line. And Phil, early on in this race, we haven't seen two cars get together and try to work to see if they're faster than the pack. We've seen pack racing, which we've come to be accustomed to here at Daytona.
And that's really what we saw last year in the ARCA Racing Series was pack racing. Again, they lined up on the inside against the yellow line with Bobby Gerhart, probably the most potent car leading the pack, so there wasn't that much passing. I think we're going to see a lot more of that this time around. We're going to see a lot more passing, especially now that we have Bobby Gerhart, who did get the Aaron's lucky dog at the back of the pack, and now he's got to make his way back to the front. He's going to take some people with him.
Working together to try to get from the back to the front. Don't want to be involved in any type of incident that might take place if you get caught in the middle or the back. They're bringing in the 33 of Milcaduno on the hook. Back. Going into the infield. The 11 of Lewani Munter. Around goes, or excuse me, the 12 of Lewani Munter goes around.
We stay green for the moment. As you know, caution is out now just as she gets that car refired.
Caution will come out once again. That was coming off of turn number 2. You saw it as it happened.
Obviously, had a tire situation, left rear.
Left rear completely off of that race car.
He was at the very back of the pack and maybe the next to the last car.
We see her trying to make her way without the assistance of a tow truck or a push. Take another look. We're riding along with Lewani, and she heard it going down.
Yeah. She realized she had a problem there. She had a couple cars behind her, but she realized she had a problem, and that kept her from getting some serious damage, maybe getting into the inside or the outside wall.
Coming out of 2, you could hear her getting out of the gas. You see her way in the back, and that tire going out. Around goes that number 12.
More than likely, that's the same set of tires she started the race on, and you never know when you may have picked up a little bit of debris as she was exiting pit road. She made a pit stop, I believe, so she may have picked up a little bit of debris.
And welcome back to Daytona International Speedway as the field continues to get back in line as we're going for our second restart now. The Lucas Oil Slick Mist 200 on our 16th lap with 64 laps to go. And a year ago in this very race, one young Ty Dillon made his first ever ARCA racing start at Daytona. And we've seen 24 others that have done that. But Ty, you, like none of the others in that race a year ago, went on to win the championship. Had a dominant season, winning 7 races, and now you've made the move up into the Camping World Truck Series. How you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, this was a really special start to an awesome year last year. Couldn't enjoy the ARCA Series much more than what we did. We had 7 wins. Just had an awesome year. And it's a great series. You get to come places like this and learn how to race at the tracks that you'll be learning at in the NASCAR rankings. So love the ARCA series, and looks like we've got a good race shaping up.
Can you hang out with us for a little while? We'll call a little ARCA racing.
Yeah,
here.
Definitely. You're gonna have to teach me how to do this. I'm not really used to it.
We've got one of your former crew chiefs leading right now, Cale Gale.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm happy for Cale. He's got a new deal going for him, and he's a really great guy. He did a good job crew chiefing, so maybe if this racing deal don't work out, he can be a great crew chief or somebody.
We got Cale Gale out in front, Ed Kennedy running second, Mike Harmon, Terry Jones, and the 02 of Josh Williams, your top 5, but here at Daytona, those change fast.
Yeah, Brandon McReynolds is on the move in that 4 car on the outside. You see him 3 wide back there. There's Chris Buescher in the middle. I tell you, Chris Buescher had a great race here, Ty, and he gave you a run for your money all year.
Yeah, he did. He's an outstanding driver. They don't have the equipment and sponsor money that most of these teams do, and Chris does an awesome job of finishing races. He'll be one that's going to, I'm sure, will fight all year this year for another championship, and he's a great racer, and he's a really good guy to be around too.
How about the run we saw out of the Lucas Oil number 5 of Bobby Gerhardt? He restarted toward the back, and already Bobby Gerhardt has made his way up into the top 15, running 12th the last time they went by the stripe.
Yeah, he's got some tricks up his sleeve. I don't know what he's got going on with his pit strategy, but it usually works.
Brandon McReynolds makes his way around that 6, and Brandon McReynolds now out in front of the field at Daytona.
And if that McReynolds name sounds familiar, as we see some 3-wide racing back here with Frank Kimmel in the middle, Bobby Gerhardt on the outside. That's because it's Larry McReynolds, our broadcast partner's son, Brandon.
Brandon getting an opportunity to run the Daytona race here in the ARCA Racing Series, and now out in front of the field. Jamie.
A little story on Brandon McReynolds. The last time he was in victory lane here at Daytona, he was only 9 months old, and that's because his dad, Larry, was crew chief for Davey Allison, who won the Daytona 500 back then. Right now, he's looking to get back.
Well, we got Bill Coffey coming across the stripe, but after being into the wall, coming out of turn number 4, so Bill Coffey brings out the caution once again. Right front tire down.
Yeah,
but
may have cut down a right front tire exiting turn number 4. Ty, I remember this race last year, and I know you guys you guys pitted about halfway, so well, it shouldn't be any problem to work your way back to the front, and everybody lined up, and nobody got on the line. Nobody actually moved.
Yeah, it was really tough to pass last year. I see these guys there a little more 2-wide, 3-wide action. I don't know if they had a rule change or what's made these guys be able to draft better, maybe just being a little more aggressive than what the race was last year. But yeah, the race kind of stalled out last year, and there wasn't very much pass, and I know I was running second early in the race and moved out to try and make something happen, and it turned out to be a bad mistake. I fell back, and it took the whole race just to get back to 11.
Take a look at what happened here with Coffey. He's the 18 on the outside, into the wall there, and then just stayed in the wall all the way through the trial.
Yeah, he may have cut a tire down, but it wasn't drastic. You can see he's already into the outside wall there, and then makes a little more contact when the car starts to come off the wall and jerks back into the wall. But tough break for Coffey.
Ray Dunlap.
Hey, Rick, I just wanted to add, Ty was talking about rule changes. One of the ones I noticed this weekend is the fact that they went about 30% stronger on the rear springs of these cars. They're required to have 600-pound rear springs, and ARCA actually issues those to them. But what that does is throws that rear spoiler up.
Winning this one!
Ty Dillon will win in the Windy City for his 3rd victory on the season.
This could be 5 out of 11 this year, closing in on 50%. None better than Ty Dillon at Iowa Speedway. He wins his 7th career race. Ty Dillon, his 9th career win in the ARCA Racing Series. He has won over 50% of the races that he started.
The official hardware for Ty Dillon, a champion named here today at Toledo.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Joining us here in the broadcast booth is Ty Dillon, your 2011 champion. 22 career starts, 9 wins, 7 of those coming last year in your championship season, 19 top 10s. That was the reason he was able to hoist the hardware at the end of the year. He's going to be up here calling the race with us for a few more segments, but first let's go back down to Jim Trado.
Just a quick thought, guys, while we have a moment. Rick Corelli is spotting for the number 6 Ream Chevrolet for the driver of Cale Gale. Cale's never been to Daytona in a car, and he's got a full-time truck schedule ahead of him with Eddie Sharp Racing. What they've done is surrounded that driver with veterans. Jerry Baxter on the pit box. Rick Corelli in the spotter stand. This is kind of typical here in the ARCA Racing Series, where you've got former crew chiefs of champion cup drivers like Paul Andrews coming to the ARCA Series, Ben Leslie now with Sean Corr. A lot of veteran leadership leading these young drivers on the racetrack. And Rick Corelli had a long discussion with his driver as he was leading and then got passed by a number of cars here to drift back to fourth about how that plays out in the race and what their strategy may be. So as much as these drivers are new to the racetrack, a number of them are surrounding themselves with veterans in the pit box. And Ty, I don't know if you recognize the number 6, but that car was your Speedway backup car they bought off of RCR. Never raced, brand new car for Cale, but certainly a fast bullet here in that 6 machine for Eddie Sharp Racing.
Did it look familiar?
Yeah, it does. I walked through the garage earlier today. All the cars were lined up, and there's quite a few RCR cars that in the field that are really running good. I know Steve Blackman, the 94, and Drew Charleston is in my car that I ran at Daytona and Talladega. So those guys look like they're doing really good, and it shows that the RCR cars are looking pretty.
We'll see how Brandon McReynolds does as he is out in front of the field for this restart. Ryan Reed just behind him in the 15. Wyndham, Cale Gale back there in 6th. And Chris Buescher running in the 6th. Chris Buescher in the 5th spot. There's the father of the race leader, Larry McReynolds, on the right side of the screen. And coming into the trioval once again, green flag back in the air. We're back underway. Working their way into turn number 1. We see the 44 of Frank Kimmel making the move on the high side, trying to get some positions on the restart.
Has some help from the number 5 of Bobby Gerhardt. So obviously the most experience in this field, Frank and Bobby, and they're working together right now.
And would Frank Kimmel's resume not be complete if he couldn't win at Daytona? Because this is one racetrack he has never won at.
Yeah, I don't know if you could call his resume missing anything. 9-time champion, winner of 74 races, but I know he would love to get one here. And this is a new situation for Frank. We haven't talked about it a whole lot. He's not with the family team anymore. He's gone over to Thorsport Racing, who's had so much success in the Truck Series, and they started this ARCA team for Frank.
There you see the 44 of Frank Kimmel, hugging that yellow line right behind Ed Kennedy in the 00. Ty Dillon joining us up here in the booth. You somewhat run in a family business, I guess, with grandfather Richard Childress making sure that you've got good equipment to race in and week out. That's important to you, obviously, family.
It really is. I couldn't imagine racing without my family involved in it. You know, my grandfather, my dad, my mom, my brother, just everybody. We're all so involved in our race team and in the sport. And you know, it's a tough deal when a family team breaks up. You hate to see that, but sometimes you got to move on. I know Frank's got a lot of cool things going on with Thorsport, and he's going to have a great year with those guys.
Brandon McReynolds still out in front as we've completed the 25th lap of 80-lap race on lap number 26 now.
Everybody's staying in line right now. Got 3 guys right behind him, Brandon does, that have never been here before. Ryan Reed, Wyndham, and Cale Gale we talked about.
Ryan Reed again started this race on the outside of row number 1. A little shuffling went on after a few pit stops, and riding along with the pole winner, Sean Corr, in that race car. We were just in the middle of a 3 wide there, and I'm sure that gets to be a little bit nerve-wracking here at Daytona, going over 180 miles an hour. That 82 of Sean Corr now on the outside of 2 wide racing.
Yeah, they've got a good little pack going now. Steve Blackburn, the 94 car, is leading that pack. There he is right there, right in front of Sean Corr. Here's Paul ARCA, the 55 on the inside.
And again, you don't see these cars moving up and bump drafting. You see a little bit of a cushion in between each one. And again, the ARCA officials have told them there is no contact in the corners. You're not allowed to bump draft in the corners. They said on the straightaways, if you get a run and you can help another driver or you can work together as a tandem, that's fine. But once you get to the corners, you are supposed to separate.
And part of that reason is, as we talked earlier, there are 24 drivers making their first ever start here. Now, you get to the Cup Series and Nationwide Series, those guys have a lot of experience here for the most part. Again, so many of these drivers so young and just getting their first attempt at racing at Daytona, they don't need to be pushing all the way around this racetrack.
Yeah, and I know last year at Talladega we were kind of riding along like this. I was out front, and the race was kind of real calm, and then all of a sudden Chad McCumbee and Frank Kimmel got together and hooked up with a tandem draft, and it threw a whole new curveball into the game there at Talladega. And so everybody kind of started scrambling around, and it really turned out to be a really great race. And trying to see if that's going to happen here tonight. I know they can't draft in the corners, but they might be able to slow up and bump each other. I know it looks like these guys are starting to get a line formed on the outside. If they can hold still long enough, they might be able to push to the front.
Now, how difficult is it, Ty? I mean, obviously last year, your first race of the season last year at Daytona was your first ARCA start at Daytona, and a lot of drivers were thinking about trying to go with the two-car tandem.
Yeah, it was kind of an eye-opening deal. I was ready for it, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. Never being at a super speedway, never drafting in the first place at all. And a lot of these guys are in the same situation. You just kind of got to learn on the fly. And the best thing I could do is follow somebody with a lot of experience who's done it before. And it looks like if I was out there, I'd be trying to follow Frank Kimmel or Bobby Gerhardt around here.
You're not going to go too far wrong.
Anybody, well, and we saw Chris Buescher learn that lesson a year ago because he latched onto the back bumper of Bobby Gerhardt and never left his side. He didn't even challenge for the win at the end. He decided, hey, I'm going to finish second at Daytona. That's not bad in my first ARCA start at this big super speedway.
Some of the cars are spread out now. Bottom of your screen, that on the outside, that's Tom Hessert and Kenny Schrader's Federated Auto Parts car.
Josh Williams on the inside of him in the 0-2. See him going 2x2 now around the track.
That's the 28 of Drew Charleston, one of the cars that Ty mentioned was the car that you actually raced here last year in Talladega.
Yeah, it is, and I think he's got some ECR engine in it, so it's very similar. It's even got the same decals as we ran last year, so glad to see that out there. I actually walked by and I saw a 41 under his headlight decal, so it got me a little excited. But
I wouldn't change much from what you had a year ago.
Yeah, we had a real fast car.
So Brandon McReynolds continues to pace the field around Daytona International Speedway, starting off the 2012 season. Friday, sparks will fly under the lights in Daytona as the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series kicks off the season with the wildest race of Speed Weeks. Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from Daytona. That's Friday, 7 Eastern, only on Speed, your motorsports authority. And Ty Dillon will be in that race on Friday. He's joining us up here, the 2011 ARCA Racing Series champion, as we have completed 33 of the 80 laps, currently on lap 34 of this race, and pretty much everyone has pitted already. They've decided, some will have decided to not come back down pit road. Others may use pit strategy if a caution comes out later, but it's been Brandon McReynolds that has been pacing the field over the last 10 to 12 laps.
You know, a lot of these cars up front, almost everybody up front, probably back to about 12, pitted on lap number 9. We probably will need some more caution laps for them to make it all the way. Remember, Bobby Gerhardt pitted on lap number 5, and we had a total of 30 caution laps in this race. Right now, we've only had 12 laps total caution laps in this race.
A little steam coming out of the front of Alex Gregory there. We saw him working behind some of the other cars with that 78 showing a little bit of steam coming out of the overflow valve. But out in front, the 4 of Brandon McReynolds continues to pace the field. Jamie, how's that team feeling?
Well, they're feeling pretty good right now. They're actually on the radio with Brandon, coaching him around the track, saying, you're doing great. Stick to that line. They can't catch you. Just keep doing what you're doing and go. But Brandon has another advantage. He's in a car that actually won this race back in 2009 with James Buescher behind the wheel. So he knows he's got a good piece under him. He's got the guys in the pit car telling him he's doing a good job, and he's just keeping his head down and driving. Right?
You know, Jamie, I've been talking to some crew chiefs on my end of the pit road, and many of them said they need 18 more laps of caution in this race, the ones that came in on lap number 9. And as I said, Sean Corr and a few other of the drivers waited till lap 15 to pit. So interesting to see how this race plays out. Seems like it has a green feel right now, but some of these guys that gambled early, they still need caution.
Thanks, Ray. Seeing 3 wide. Again, that 78 I mentioned earlier, throwing a little bit of steam out. Alex Gregory on the inside line.
See Paula Haraka on the 55, one of the Venturini cars on the outside. Nelson Canacci and another one of them in the 35 that was on the inside.
Pauly was one of the drivers that his time was disallowed for not passing post-qualifying inspection.
Yeah, the left front balance was about 1/8 of an inch too low. But it's a black and white situation. It's either right or it isn't. They put him to the back of the field. Fortunately, he was able to fall back on a provisional. Now he's trying to make his way back towards the front. Has Brett Hudson, who did such a great job. We were talking during a commercial, and Ty said that Brett Hudson really did a nice job at Talladega. He finished 4th in that race at Talladega. He's in the middle right now. Alex Bowman jumps to the rear bumper of the 55 of Paulie Haraka.
And there's two names right there that we mention a lot when we're doing the K&N Pro Series, both the East and West Series. Paulie Haraka as well as Alex Bowman racing in the K&N Pro Series. And this is the first start for Paulie Haraka in the ARCA Racing Series. And what bigger challenge to put in front of you than Daytona International Speedway? Have at it.
Yeah, but good practice for him, too, because he will be here next week with Richie Waters' team. The Truck Series scheduled to do a full season in the Truck Series for Richie Waters. So it's great experience to come here. And Ty, I know your first truck race is coming up next week here at Daytona, and I know this race you ran last year is going to be really valuable as far as experience goes.
I think it definitely will. Here in Talladega, really well prepared me for what's going to happen, I hope. And being able to have an older brother who did well here in Talladega, I can lean on his notes and what he's done and what he's seen, and Joey Coulter. So I got great teammates and great people around me that's going to hopefully make this weekend coming up pretty easy on me. You never know with Daytona what's going to happen, especially with these trucks as well as they get. It's going to be an exciting race under the lights, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Jim Trado, we've been talking a little bit about Paulie Haraka. How's that team doing?
It's going to be a little bit close on fuel. Kevin Caldwell, the crew chief, has been with Venturini for a while now, and with that infraction, they thought, okay, we need to team up with their teammate in the back. That kind of went away really early. But one thing in Paulie's advantage is he's never been to Daytona, but he's been to the test track in Yuma, Arizona for no less than 5 Sprint Cup Series teams, and he's had a ton of miles there. He said he's done a lot of drafting there. He's comfortable in this draft, but he's never been 2 or 3 wide at this length of a race. But Haraka's doing a nice job. He wants to be in the top 10, about lap 20 to go, and that's when he feels he'll go racing, right?
Hey, Jim, we're on board right now with Sean Corr in that number 82, and as we were looking from the high shot, I could see a little bit of water starting to come out of the overflow. Sean came on the radio and said we're at 240, and I've got the fan on. You guys noticed that he was throwing a little bit of water when he was the leader. Now he's in traffic, and that car's running hot.
Yeah, Ray, I think he needs to get a little bit of tape off that car, and obviously if the caution doesn't come out, he's certainly not going to give up this spot to come to pit road, but if it pushes out too much water, then the car's going to overheat and he's going to be out of business.
He's really a sitting duck right now because you don't want to jump out of the pack and lose all your track position and take that tape off the grill and get a caution and come out and put you behind. The best thing he could do now is to get to the outside and maybe just get a little air on the nose and cool that thing down.
Field making their way out of turn number 4, again led by Brandon McReynolds. The flagman will give them the halfway sign as they've completed 40 laps of racing on to lap 41. So 100 miles already in the books here for the first race of the season, and it's Brandon McReynolds that's out in front. Ryan Reed running second after starting second. So Brandon McReynolds starts 11th, and we got problems with our pole winner, Sean Corr in the 82. Smoke rolling out of that race car.
I believe he pushed too much water out of it, Ty.
Yeah, you got to push the limits on your tape, and he just ran a little too hot. It looks like the smoke stopped now, and maybe just pushed a little too much water out.
He may have shut it off, but the fact that smoke came out more than likely will spell some pretty serious trouble for Sean, and he's going to give up a lot of track position. He will be certainly at least a lap down, if not 2. He's running in the 19th spot when that happened, but when we saw that water coming out of the overflow, we knew it was just a matter of time.
And actually a veteran move by Sean Corr to right away get down on the apron. So if there was any type of fluid or anything coming out of that vehicle, we take a look from the DirecTV blimp, and there's the steam rolling out of the right side of that race car.
Looking a little terminal right there, doesn't it?
Yeah, coming out of the exhaust, that's usually not a good sign. It looks like he got it shut down, though, and kept from putting oil on the track.
We can ride along with him. We'll take a listen. Yeah, take a look at that.
Yeah, some pretty important stuff inside that engine. We're not doing the things that we're supposed to when he takes the hard left.
Hard left turn, he goes back into the garage, so your pole winner doesn't look like he will be race winner today. It's Brandon McReynolds out in front of the field. Coverage of the ARCA Racing Series on Speed is brought to you by Ansel. For over 100 years, the world leader in hand protection. .5:30 here in Daytona Beach, Florida. NASCAR race day. It's the special Budweiser Shootout edition coming up here live 6:30 p.m. right after this ARCA Racing Series first event. You want to stay tuned as they get you ready for the Budweiser Shootout taking place right here on this 2.5-mile superspeedway.
Some pretty heavy traffic for the leaders. They caught another pack of cars to put them a lap down. Brandon McReynolds was able to get by and negotiate those lap cars and get out front, get back down to the bottom. But you see Frank Kimmel now on the outside racing alongside Ed Kennedy in a 3-wide battle.
The hard wide pack coming out of the turn.
The hard thing with these cars is getting time to pass, and when you catch a slower group like this is kind of your opportunity to make some moves, and it makes it tougher even though there's more cars around you, but this is your time to gain some positions, and this is also a time where you can see a big wreck.
Yeah, and Bobby Gerhardt in that 5 is almost at the back of this big pack as he works his way trying to get back up to the front.
You know, we touched on it, and Ray mentioned too. I'm not sure most of these cars. Ooh, there's a little bit of contact right there.
Bumping and banging.
I'm not sure very many of these cars can make it on fuel if we don't see some more caution laps.
We just saw the 39. That was Fane Skinner that had a little smoke coming out of the left side as contact was made with that race car.
Spencer Gallagher in the 23 car. Right now being shown in the 37th spot. He was one of those cars that was in the pack that got passed by the leader and lapped.
And you saw the sun there. Obviously, it's been an overcast day all day long, and now as we get to the point where the sun is setting, it's in their eyes because the clouds have moved off to the east of us, and now we've got the sun becoming a factor in this race as far as vision.
The tough part about it being overcast all day is you set you put a shield on that's clear, and then you get out there and the sun pops out, and then it's in your eyes, and now you really can't see. I remember the sun was really bad in this race last year for us too. The best thing you can do is concentrate on that yellow line if that's where you're running, or that car in front of you, and it kind of causes a little bit of a hazard.
Some little bumping and banging here. We'll take another look.
Steve Blackburn in the 94. Ed Kennedy in the 00. Ed's down below. Actually got forced down below the yellow line, it looks like, by Fane Skinner in the 39. James Hilton, the 48 right there. And the 10 of Ed Pompa make just a slight bit of contact.
You know, you guys have brought it up. The big story, now that we've gone quite a few green flag laps, are we going to have problems with fuel? Let's hear from the guy who's out in front, Brandon McReynolds. Jamie, what are they talking about in that pit?
Yeah, the race leading team, they're saying they're going to need some more caution. They are really going to be close on fuel if they don't get a good long caution period. So definitely something to keep an eye on. They've just told Brandon over the radio, hey, when you get a chance, you've got mail. I'm not sure what that's code for, but the team definitely working out fuel strategy. Jim?
And Jamie, fuel strategy is not an option for the number 6 of Cale Gale. They have yet to pit in this entire event. They will be out of fuel by lap 60. The driver just radioed in a lap ago. Hey, I think I see some debris on the front stretch.
Yeah, sure he did.
Just saying.
Yeah, most of the crew chiefs told me about 60 to 65 green flag laps were what they felt like the pit window was. And obviously what Bobby Gerhardt and Chris Buescher did last year, pitting on lap number 5 and making it the rest of the way. But that was with about 30 caution laps. We've only had 12. This race has had 24 or more caution laps every year for the last 13 years.
So crew chiefs and teams were expecting a few more caution laps. And as we pass the halfway point and looking at coming up on the 50th lap with only 30 laps remaining when they get to the stripe, the laps are winding down for the possibility of more caution laps. It's Brandon McReynolds still out in front of Ryan Reed, and of course Cale Gale. Well, he needs a caution because he hasn't stopped for fuel yet. Check out and subscribe to our NASCAR mobile alerts. Get the latest race results and breaking news sent right to your phone. Text NASCAR to Speed 3 for Speed NASCAR text alerts. And welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Out in front of this field, still Brandon McReynolds, Ryan Reed holding on to second, and the 32 of Chris Windom in third.
Yeah, great story with Ryan Reed. He was diagnosed about a year ago with type 1 diabetes, so he's racing one of maybe 3 race car drivers in the country that do that with type 1 diabetes. They told him that his career was over, but he said, I'm not going to let that keep me down. And what a great job he's doing. Sam Bass, a good friend of ours, has designed the paint scheme on Ryan Reed's car. You can see that 15 car, great looking car. Ray, what else is going on with Ryan Reed down there?
Well, he hasn't said much on the radio so far, Phil, but I got to say, I absolutely love the paint scheme on that. It is a Sam Bass design. Kind of reminds me of the old Darrell Waltrip Western Auto look. It's got a faded checkerboard on it, and it looks really cool. But I talked to Ryan, and he said that he is planning on running the entire season in the ARCA series by Menards this year. They've got 15 or 16 races sold right now, and they're hoping to get the balance done. That he said they can get late into the season, and hopefully more sponsorship will come along. But he thinks this is a team led by Jonathan Davis good enough to go win a championship. Right now he's in pretty good shape at Daytona.
Really good shape.
Hey, Chris Windham, another one of those drivers doing a nice job. He's a 21-year-old open-wheel driver driving for Wintron. We're used to seeing those Wintron cars running really well. Chris Windham jumped in this thing and doing a terrific job.
And Chris Windham, here's a guy who his background is more on dirt. He's had success in the ARCA Racing Series when they go to Springfield. His career best was third last year at Springfield on the dirt. And think about that. Now he comes to a 2.5-mile super speedway going over 188 miles an hour.
The team certainly does have a lot of confidence in Chris Windham, even though it is his first super speedway, his first Daytona. But they said one thing that Chris is really good at, he gets into his rhythm and he doesn't get overexcited. A track like this, an event like this, that's a huge quality to have. They're on the radio right now saying you've got this thing figured out. Just stay hooked up with the 15 car.
Stay hooked up with a 15 car. We heard those words a year ago with Chris Buescher. Stay hooked up with that 5 car, and that's exactly what he did. And it looks as though these guys are just staying on that double yellow line, single file, following after Brandon McReynolds. But again, the big story will be, without more caution laps, how many can make it to the end, if any?
Yeah, I don't think right now the top 10, everybody with the exception of Cale Gale, pitted on lap number 9. We know Cale's going to have to pit. By the rules, he's going to have to pit. Looks like the 18 maybe spun coming back down pit road. You see him, he made repairs after getting to the outside wall. And then right now Steve Blackburn's running in the 11th spot, the 94 car. He pitted back on lap number 15. So I still don't even think that's going to be enough fuel to get him to the end.
It's Bill Coffey in the 18 that is, again, perpendicular to the way you're supposed to be on pit road, and it looks like he's having troubles getting that car refired and moved. And if he's still in that position the next time by, ARCA might start looking at having to figure out how to get him off of pit road, but that might bring the caution out. Or he gets it fired back up again, but
seems like a bad day gone worse for him.
Yeah.
We see some ARCA racing officials making their way over there to try to assist that 18 to get him turned back around the right way as the pack makes their way out of turn number 4, and now coming into the tri-oval, again led by Brandon McReynolds.
Obviously a caution flag right now is going to change the complexion of this race, and if that happens on the racetrack, so be it, but we certainly don't want to have that 18 car doing donuts on pit road cause a caution flag
and affect the outcome of the race. The 78 team of Alex Gregory, they're pushing his car behind the wall right now as Brandon McReynolds just 22 laps remaining in this race, and his father Larry McReynolds, I'm sure, is pulling out whatever hair he has left on his head, wondering what to do here to the end of this race.
Brandon ran a really good race at Talladega. Me and him drafted the whole time together, and he's a really great drafter, and he's ran a couple of these ARCA races at super speedways, and he's doing a good job.
Yeah, I think he had an overheating issue, I think, in that race at Talladega, and had made an unscheduled pit stop, lost a lap or 2, and then was very competitive. As you mentioned, ran with you. You ended up in victory lane.
Ty, I know that you have got a race on Friday. We want to wish you best of luck. Thanks for joining us up here, helping us call the race, and best of luck in the rest of the week.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Car world by storm this year. The show critics are calling awesome, unbelievable, and unlike any other car building show on television. It is back with a second season of all new episodes and all new drama. Don't miss a special preview of Car Warriors. That will be Friday, immediately following the Daytona truck race, right here on Speed, your motorsports authority. Let's go back to pit road and Jim Trado.
And Rick, when we stepped away from commercial, that was lap 60. That was the magic moment. That was the final call for the sixth car of Cale Gale to come to pit road. They did pit on lap 60. They had tires ready because the lap prior, the driver said, right front, Jerry, right front. They did not change tires, though, so there may be a right front tire issue for Cale Gale. They did come down pit road, lost the lead lap. They came in, had to come for pit and fuel, and they did just that, Ray.
And Jim, most of the guys I've talked to that pitted on lap 9 are going to be at least 7 laps short in this race. We're at lap 63 right now. I expect most of these guys will try to come to pit road by lap 70. You want to make sure you don't do it too close towards the end of the race. And again, keep in mind, ARCA goes with a green, white, checkered, and it can do it multiple times. So many of these guys way short on fuel.
Yeah, Cale Gale has been able to stay in front of our leader. If the caution flag were to come out now, he would be on the lead lap. It won't be a matter of time, though, before this pack will catch him as fast as the pack's running.
Yeah, pack still clicking off laps just over 48 seconds, which is about 185 miles an hour, and a single car is not going to be able to get up to that speed, but the pack working together will consume that car of Cale Gale here shortly.
And most of these drivers have done a terrific job staying in line like they have, especially up front in the top 8 or 10 positions. Not one of these guys has gotten out of line.
Brandon McReynolds, Ryan Reed, Chris Wyndham, Chris Buescher, and Mikey Kyle, your top 5. And it's Max Gresham, Will Kimmel, Fane Skinner, Steve Blackburn, and Bobby Gerhardt, your top 10. Yes, Bobby Gerhardt has made it into the top 10 after his interesting pit strategy to start this race. How about our Messina rookies at Daytona as we take a look at the Team Messina rookie spotlight and where they're running? Brandon McReynolds, a rookie, out there in front.
Yeah, doing a great job. Fane Skinner running along in the top 10. Beat Matt Lofgren back in the 23rd spot.
All in line as they work their way back into the tri-oval. 15 laps of racing to go here in Daytona. Jamie, how's that floor feeling?
Getting a little shaky down here in the Tartar Motorsports pit. They just told Brandon, though, here's the deal, bud. We are in this thing to win it. We're going to go for it. He said, we need you to save fuel when you can. Just keep your head down. Be smart about this, but they are not planning to come in for fuel.
How about that for strategy? Save fuel if you can. Don't let anybody get by you.
Well, I think that's the only call to make. This is not a team that runs full time. You see Mark Brett up there, who won a championship with Justin Lofton, is calling the shots in that car. So I think it's a great strategy. And if I was in their position, I would do the same thing. If you're running for points, then you have to think about it. But for right now, for Brandon McReynolds and that Turner Motorsports team, I think that's the only call they can make.
In it to win it is what Brandon McReynolds is trying to do. Back in the 10th spot, Bobby Gerhardt trying to win it an 8th time, Ray.
And Rick, you never know from year to year whether Bobby Gerhardt's going to run all the races in ARCA. He's done it a number of times and had some great seasons. But this year he said he's concentrating on the super speedway races, and they don't have plans to run all the races. I just ran over to his brother Billy, who's the crew chief, and I said, many of these guys are 5 to 7 laps short. He said, we're going to have about 2.5 ounces left in that car, but we can make it to the end.
So what will play out as far as fuel is concerned at Daytona? We'll take a quick break and be right back for the final 13 laps. A lot of drivers needing a caution. One comes out as we have just 11 laps remaining here at Daytona. Cars involved: Rick Clifton in the 11 up against the wall, Sloan Henderson in the 29, and James Hilton in the 48, all involved in this. And there you see the 48 of James Hilton. Remember, James Hilton, a 76-year-old driver here.
A lot of damage to the back of James's car. Let's see if we can see what happened here. See two cars together. That's James on the inside of the racetrack, moves up the hill right in front of Sloan Henderson. She had absolutely nowhere to go, as well as Rick Clifton in the 11 car.
Clifton stays up against the wall. Sloan came down as well as James, but it looked like James was in front of another car and got turned around right on the bottom of the racetrack.
A lot of damage to that 29 car. That's Brian Keselowski's race team.
Unfortunate. makes these crew chiefs think a little bit now.
Yeah.
Do you come to pit road or do you stay out?
How comfortable are you with the amount of fuel you have right now? We know that the 4 Brandon McReynolds, you see Sloan walking around. Fortunately, she's okay. We know that Brandon McReynolds was going to stay out and roll the dice, but now they have the opportunity, as we watch this hard contact once again, they have the opportunity to come down pit road. Will they?
Will they make that decision to come onto pit road? We know that Cale Gale doesn't have to, just came onto pit road and was out in front of Brandon McReynolds, so he was not a lap down. That means that he will not have to receive the Aaron's Lucky Dog, which would have put him at the back of the field.
This is the time when these crew chiefs are going to earn their money right here. This is the call. If they come down pit road and then some people stay out and they're not able to get back to the front, then they're going to get bit. Pit road is open, and it looks like almost everyone staying on the racetrack. You see, that looks like the 9 of Max Gresham is the first car that's going to come down pit road. Max was running in the 6th spot. There's Spain Skinner in the 39. Here comes Frank Kimmel in the 44. Tom Hessert in the 52 making their way down pit road. Chad Hockenbraugh's coming in the Tasty Apple car. There's Max Gresham right there, Ray.
Well, Phil, when you're in 7th, you do whatever the leader doesn't do. If the leader pitted, Max was going to stay out. Right in front of the 9, we see Frank Kimmel also pulled in there. They needed to come in and get fuel. Let's go to Jim Trado.
Tom Hessert came down pit road. His crew chief, Johnny Richardson, said there's been way too many green flag laps. This team has already pitted twice, but way early on in the race. Hessert down for fuel, 2 seconds, down and away.
There's car owner Kenny Schrader right there. Won so many of these ARCA races.
Has been Frank Kimmel's nemesis when it comes to Toledo. Either one or the other who's been able to head to victory lane at the Toledo Speedway.
It's not like Kenny hasn't been doing anything. He's been racing a lot of dirt here locally.
Yeah, he stays very busy. Kenny actually slowed down a little bit last year by only going to 90
I was
races.
Say 85 or 90, something like that.
Normally over 100 races on his schedule. Brandon Davis in the 2, the Aaron's Lucky Dog. So Brandon Davis will get a lap back. Currently running in the 27th position. Was the highest scored non-lead lap car. That will put 27 on the lead lap when we get ready to restart once again. Two friends with a common interest in racing forged a relationship that has defined stock car racing forever. Bill France Sr. and John Markham may have met on the short tracks, but their aspirations were gigantic. Big Bill invited Markham to bring his touring series to the Daytona International Speedway in 1964, and a who's who of the ARCA Racing Series have etched their names in the history books every year since. Nelson Stacy was first to victory lane, and then the greats continued to follow. Iggy Katona, Jack Bowsher, Benny Parsons, Kyle Petty, Mike Wallace, Ryan Newman, Kyle Busch, and most recently the domination of Bobby Gerhart. All winners at the greatest venue the sport has ever seen. Very impressive names on that list of drivers that have been to victory lane as we're getting ready to find out who will go this year. The Lucas Oil Slick Mist 200. Just 8 laps of racing remaining. In the ARCA Racing Series inaugural season back in 1953, celebrating our 60th anniversary season. Ray, we saw the 15 of Ryan Reed make his way onto pit road. Was he out of gas?
He was, Rick, and a number of these guys have gambled. You see Brandon McReynolds out front, the 32-17. Some of these guys who are thinking they can make it on fuel. Ryan Reed was the same. They did not pit under yellow that last time until he went around one more lap and said it was out of fuel. The guys came, they pushed him, got him restarted, but he gives up second place on the racetrack by not having enough fuel. Let's go to Trado.
And Ray, Will Kimmel's playing a bit of a gamble here as well, but on the radio he said, you know what, I'm going to stay with the 17. I'm going to push the 17 to the finish line. That's kind of what Chris Buescher's strategy was in that car a year ago with Bobby Gerhart. Will Kimmel have enough fuel to do it? They're gambling here in the 68 machine. It's a family-owned deal, volunteer pit crew. This is Bill Kimmel's son, Will. That's Frank's brother. They are on their own now, and they're trying to get a great run and hopefully a full season with sponsorship in this 68, currently 5th on the board.
Thanks, Jim. We got a couple cars that look like they're struggling with fuel right now. The 16 of Matt Lofton looks to be being pushed by Josh Williams to try to get him back around.
Right now, our top 5 cars on the racetrack, all pitted on lap number 9. They're on the exact same strategy. Steve Blackburn, right now running in the 6th spot, has about 6 more laps of fuel. He pitted on lap number 15. And Bobby Gerhardt, running 7th, pitted on lap number 10. So I would not be surprised to see more cars run out of gas before we get to the end.
So the top 5, as you mentioned, all pitted on lap number 9. That's Will Kimmel running in the 5th spot. Blackburn pitted on lap 15. So a few more laps of fuel for Steve Blackburn. But as you mentioned, Bobby Gerhardt, a 7-time winner of this race, looking for his 8th win, currently running 7th, but he pitted on lap 10 of this race. Coming up next, it's the Budweiser Shootout edition of NASCAR Race Day from Daytona International Speedway, getting you ready for the Bud Shootout. 2 sections of that race, 25 laps to start it off with, and then a 50-lap shootout to end it. Kurt Busch won the race a year ago, but with a new team, what will happen? Take a look at this. The 4, Brandon McReynolds running down on the apron.
Yeah, the fuel pickups are in the right rear corners of these fuel cells, and if they're running around at 70 miles an hour, which is pace car speed, the fuel will run away from that fuel pickup, and they will actually run out of gas, even though they have gas in the tank. So I think it's a smart move for Brandon McReynolds to run down on the flat to keep that fuel over in the pickup box over in the right rear corner of that fuel cell.
And Brandon McReynolds gambling, trying to see if they can make it. One car that didn't make it, Matt Lofton, trying to put fuel and get that one fired back up again and getting back out on the racetrack. Lofton will drop back, currently scored 27th. If he can stay on the lead lap, that will be the big question. He's got to get out in front of the pack.
See Chris Windham also down on the apron of the racetrack on the flat, trying to keep fuel in it. I'm not sure Chris Windham has any fuel right now. He may be out of gas. Let's see if it picks back up.
Phil, in NASCAR, we have seen before, they will say you have to keep up with the pace car. Well, number 1's keeping up with the pace car. What about the rest of the field?
How about that? Mikey Kyle comes down pit road at the last instant. He realizes he doesn't have enough gas to keep this thing going. He has to come down pit road. We're getting 1 to go now.
1 to go will be a 5-lap shootout when they come back to the stripe. As you see, Mikey Kyle making the decision to come onto pit road. Also, Spencer Gallagher in the 23 and the 30 of Terry Jones also coming onto pit road. Bobby Gerhardt. What an amazing super speedway career Bobby Gerhardt has. 7 wins here, 1 win at Talladega, 8 career wins, but it's all been on the domination of the restrictor plate tracks. Ray, what's happening with the 44 and 58?
Well, I just want you to watch them. They are definitely going to team up. And as I walked down pit road before this race started, I was checking to see which of these cars had slippery tape on their rear bumper. Guess what? The 58 has it on the rear and on the front. And there's a couple other cars, including Brandon McReynolds, who has that same thing. I told you at the top of the show, my crystal ball said there's going to be some 2-car tandems. I think we're getting ready to figure out if anybody can do it. And I think Hackenbraugh and Kimmel are 2 guys that are going to team up and try to push their way to the front.
Again, ARCA has said the rules are there's no pushing in the corners. So for these last 5 laps, we may see 2 cars try to get together and work, but they're going to have to do it on the straightaways.
Chris Windham was not keeping up the last time around, but does in fact have enough fuel here to get ready for this restart.
When they come to the stripe, the green flag will come out with 5 laps of racing to go. Brandon McReynolds, Chris Buescher, Chris Windham, Will Kimmel, Steve Blackburn, your top 5. Green flag goes back in the air. Right to the double yellow line goes the 4 of Brandon McReynolds. He'll try to hug that yellow line for the final 5 laps.
These guys really have to be on their toes with the possibility of some of these cars up front running out of gas.
Single file line, 1 through 10. Early on, breaking away from the rest of the pack here.
Now the pushing is going to happen. People are going to be fighting for room on this racetrack.
Down the backstretch. A couple cars taking a peek outside of the line.
Chris Buescher third in line. Now remember, he followed Bobby Gerhardt for just about the last half of this race and never was able to make a move on him. Is he going to still sit there again and finish third, or going to try to make something happen?
We haven't seen a lot of contact as far as bump drafting all the way up to the final 5 laps. Will it happen now? 4 to go for Brandon McReynolds in the number 4 car out front. Chris Windham in the 32, running second. Does he come up? Do they work together as a 2-car tandem? You see the 17 falling back just a bit. That's Chris Buescher running third.
Well, if they're going to make a move, they need to have a little bit of gap. You can't be right on him and make a move. Maybe that was intentional. Ooh, Polly Haraka gets around.
Polly Haraka spins and goes into the infield. Caution does not come out yet. We stay green.
Side by side for second. Now Chris Buescher did make the move on Chris Windham.
Buescher on the outside, Windham on the inside. They stay side by side. Field coming out of turn number 4. It's still Brandon McReynolds out in front. We stay green. 3 laps of racing to go.
Chris Buescher was not able to clear the 32 of Windham. Now Will Kimmel in the 68 car is going to close up that spot on the bottom. Now he's third.
Polly Haraka back out on the track after spinning and going into the infield. We stay green. Down the backstretch they go with just under 3 laps to go. The 4
fighting for space back there.
The 4 of Brandon McReynolds watching as they fan out behind him. He's loving that as long as he stays on the yellow line. Max Gresham in the 9, just in front of the 44 of Kimmel. Those two looked like they were going to work together, and now Gresham dropping back.
Kimmel jumps to the inside.
This time by 2 laps of racing to go.
Trouble.
Reynolds, Windham, and around goes the 17 of Buescher. He'll slide back up the racetrack. Great job by Buescher to hold it down under the double yellow line.
There was a little bit of contact. Chris Buescher got turned around. Remember what we talked about? Green, white checker having enough fuel? That's what we're going to see.
The caution has come out once again. They will open pit road to give them the opportunity if they want to come down. Once the field has made its way back around and the pace car has picked up the lead car, which is Brandon McReynolds.
You see Mark Rett right there, crew chief for Brandon McReynolds, said, why did we have to get a caution?
With just 2 laps of racing to go.
See where the contact is. You see right now it looks like that Nelson Canachi in the 35 car gets in the back of the 17.
Nelson all over the back bumper of the 17. The 17 spins. See the 55, or the 55 of Polly Haraka made his way onto pit road. Take a look at this as they cross the stripe. What a great shot.
Yeah.
Yep. Not what they wanted to see.
Yeah, that's Mark Rett right there. He knew that caution flag could potentially really hurt him on fuel mileage.
Jamie, I know that they weren't happy when this caution came out. Did they think they were going to make it?
They know that it was going to be really close, and Mark Rett is getting really nervous down here. He's saying, you've got to stay on that apron, bud. You've got to shut it off when you can. Just remember, keep your head down. We are here to win this race, and right now we're running on borrowed time. He said all we can do now is just hope and pray.
Brandon McReynolds brings that race car back down onto the apron. He's got to keep up with a cautious pace, keep up with the pace car that's out on the racetrack now, and that field will start to tack on behind the pace car.
You see right now, you see the gap back to the pace car. More than likely, Brandon is shutting that car off, coasting, and then turning it back on. And I'm sure all the top 3 right now are doing that. They all pitted on lap number 9. Steve Blackburn right now is running 4th in the 94 car. He pitted back on lap number 15, and Bobby Gerhardt is 5th. He pitted on lap number 10. I think all those guys right now are close on fuel.
Trying to figure out what strategy to use now as far as saving as much fuel as possible. We heard Brandon McReynolds, crew chief, say get down on the apron where it's flat so that the fuel can make it into the pickup. When they come back through 3 and 4 into the stripe, they'll be given the 1 to go sign. It looks like the 4 had slowed way down. We saw the 32 of Wyndham right behind him.
Yeah, they're all shutting their engines off and then coasting and then refiring and going.
The ARCA officials have the opportunity and the ability to talk on each one of these drivers' radios. And so if they get to the point where they think that they're falling back too much, they will warn them.
And they are reminding them right now, Rick, to maintain caution car speed. Right now, this is the completion of lap number 80. This would have been the prescribed distance right here. They're getting 1 to go. That means that we're going to run at least 83 laps to complete this one.
So they've crossed the stripe, completing 80 laps. The next time by, they will get the green flag.
And remember, we'll do multiple green-white checkered
potentially
attempts.
Multiple green-white checkered attempts. Now that they have passed the prescribed distance of this race, they will try until they can get a green flag finish. Ray, what's the strategy now with the 5 and 28?
Well, you'll remember when Ty Dillon was up there in the booth, he said that number 28 is a race car that is a very, very good piece. Drew Charlson driving that right behind Bobby Gerhart, and the crew chiefs had confirmed that those two are going to stick together, and Billy Gerhart tells me they can make this distance even with the green-white checkered. Even though it's going to be close, that 28's planning on sticking right to the bumper of that Lucas Oil Chevrolet.
Well, it's a pretty good strategy since we know that Bobby Gerhart always is a factor when a checkered flag flies at Daytona. That's a pretty good strategy to stick to the back bumper of the 5. But is it an insurmountable type of goal now, running in the 5th spot, and you pit it up lap 10? Fuel is going to be an issue.
Yeah, we're coming to green this time, and the restart is going to be so critical. If any one of these guys misses a gear or their car coughs and doesn't go, that could really create some chaos.
And right now, some of the cars on the apron, some of them up on the racetrack. They'll make their way up onto the racetrack. They need to be in single file line behind the pace car, and that's what the field is beginning to do now. They'll pack in behind that 4 of Brandon McReynolds. He has to go extra distance if he wants to get to victory lane in Daytona. Pace car has made its way off of the racetrack. Green flag back in the air. Can they make it 2 more laps? Brandon McReynolds coming up to speed. Chris Wyndham just behind him. Will Kimmel running 3rd in that 68.
We had one car run out of gas. Alex Bowman in the 22 car ran out of gas. There he is right there. He will definitely not make it around. If he'll make the hard left-hand turn and get out of the way, looks like that's what he's going to do.
He turns off the racetrack, gets out of the racing groove. Now the question is, who's going to make it to the finish? Those that are gambling on fuel.
A little bit over a lap, a little less than a lap and a half to go right now for our leaders.
Coming out of turn number 4. This time they'll see the white flag, meaning 1 more lap of racing at Daytona. White flag in the air. Brandon McReynolds 2.5 miles away from his first victory in the ARCA Racing Series.
Brandon McReynolds had a great run at Talladega last year, had a fuel pickup issue, was not in contention at the end of the race, even though he was running up front. He's got about 3/4 of a lap here to get it done.
Will someone gamble and peek outside of this line? Down the backstretch they go sideways. Back about 6th place was Charlson, I believe.
I believe that was Brett Hudson.
Hudson just behind him in the 09.
Got turned completely sideways and saved it.
Into turn 3 and 4 for potentially the final time. Brandon McReynolds in front of Chris Wyndham, trying to hold on. Coming out of turn number 4. Look at the run. Look at the run by Bobby Gerhart. Gerhart on the outside. 4 wide as they come into the tri-oval. Gerhart coming through the tri-oval, and he'll win again. 8-time winner, Bobby Gerhart.
Trouble as they pass across the start-finish line. And all sorts of cars out of fuel. Great variation in speed. Somebody got together.
They need to slow it down here. This race is over. There's cars flying through here with cars sideways. Did we just say